All right, I think I got it this time. Let's see if it's working. Says I'm live here, but I need to find it on. There it is. All right. Hi, I'm here. Finally. Sorry about that mix-up, everybody. I had to, like I said, trying out a new software to live stream so that I can do this, have my wide-angle lens on my backside of my camera in front of me. Howdy, 54 years into the past. Is that what it says? That is so funny. Oh, man. I don't know what is going on there. So I'll hopefully be able to edit those details after the fact. But the fact is that you're here now, and it's not 54 years in the past, because if so, I wouldn't be born yet. So, and I can see chat over here, so that's good. Okay. Hey, Sally. Hey, Seth. Friends and tacos. Welcome. All right. So now I have this jug I made a few days ago. I've had it covered up with plastic. And I've got another one as well. This one was a little bit softer, so I had to keep wetting it for the last couple of days to make sure it was good to go. Obviously, if I didn't make it into a cabin jug, it would be fine. I could just put a handle on it and make it a jug without a scene in it. But I know recently I had several. Neither would YouTube wouldn't exist. Exactly, Seth. But I could obviously put a handle on this, make it a jug without a scene in it. But I had several people ask for a video on a cabin jug, and I thought, well, a live stream would be much better. I can interact with you all. You can ask questions. Also, it would be a long video if it was just a regular video of making a cabin jug. Maybe I can take the content from this and make a time lapse. If not, I'll probably do that from another one. Excuse me. All this running around probably gave me some indigestion because I tried to start the live stream 15 minutes ago and it wouldn't work. So I finally got it. So anyhow, so first thing I do with a jug for a scene like this is take and indent the side of it. So obviously I don't want to do this right after I make it because it would be too wet. But after it's stiffened up some, I just want to take and I start just pushing in. And now this one being a little bit more dry, I don't want it to crack. So I'm going to try to be very careful with it. But I do need to indent this a decent amount. You can kind of see what I'm doing there. Just pushing in. Now obviously if you don't throw that thin, this is kind of easier than if you throw thin. If you throw thin, you're kind of like risking, and the drier it gets, the more you're risking the chance that this could crack or just split open in one of those throw-in lines there, or even along the edge. You can kind of see some stress marks. I don't know if you can see them, but I can see them kind of at the top and the bottom here. I don't like adding a bunch of water to this when I do this to push it in, but I do like to get it pushed in. Another thing everybody's probably going to be screaming at me about is that I don't have any slip to put this all together, and that's a big no-no when it comes to clay. I'm pushing in a little bit more at the bottom than I am at the top because I know I want my cabin sitting in the bottom, and I kind of need some space to get the cabin kind of pushed back in there. So, and then usually I have a kind of a little trail leading up to the, I'm going to use a little bit of water now because I see kind of smooth up some of those stress cracks that are showing up. Yeah, most of what I use to put these together is just going to be, make sure the clay I'm using is not super stiff as far as even what I'm making the cabin and the trees out of, and then to use water to kind of dampen the clay before I put that on there. Inez, this I think was a 4 or 5 pound. It might have been more than that. I can't remember how much clay was in this vase, but it's a little over a foot tall, just barely, and probably 7.5 inches wide. To be honest with you, I can't remember. I made these like a few days ago, so sorry about that. Yeah, Jim, a lot of people do use vinegar instead of slip. I'm not even using that. I'm just going to use water. But that's mainly because I'm familiar with what I can get away with in making this. I'm familiar with the clay enough and how soft and it needs to be. And so, but yeah, use vinegar, use slip if you're not sure. You don't want doing a bunch of work on something like this and then it fall apart. So, have you ever done a face jug on a thrown pumpkin form? Cinnamon, no, I have not. That's a kind of a cool idea, though. Now, I do have a little bit of clay over here. I've just got a chunk of clay that I grabbed, and then I went ahead and kind of rolled out, just haphazardly rolled out this with a little dowel that I have over here. So I'm going to take this to make the cabin out of. So we'll push this to the side, and I'll tilt the camera down so you can see what I'm doing here on this. So I've just got this little slab of clay rolled out and I'm not worried about it being thick and thin either, because I do these cabins pretty rustic looking, so I'm not too worried about them being perfect as far as like looking like they're structural, sound, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to use the width of the ruler to get me the height of my cabin, or at least to get me a straight edge to start from. I really only need to build like 3 of the walls of the cabin, or 2.5, because I have to have, what I've been doing is a whole front face and then like part of the wall here and part of the wall here. I really don't have to have a back wall in the cabin at all, because it's like pushed in kind of like it's merging out of and then I also have to kind of cut it at an angle so that there's actually more of this left wall showing than the right wall. But either way, we'll get into that. So now I'm going to, just to make the walls for the cabin, I'm just going to use the width of the ruler to give me kind of like the height of the walls of the cabin. So you kind of see that'll be like the front of the cabin and the 2 sides. Let's see, that's probably a little long. Cut that down a little bit so that I'm just kind of picturing the front wall of the cabin being like that right there. All right, let's see. I do have a little spot starting to show up right there where it is starting to break through. So I'm just going to take a little piece of clay and I end up putting rocks and all kinds of stuff on the scene anyway. All right, now for the bigger side wall that's going to be on this end, I just cut another rectangle of clay. So now I've got like this longer rectangle and then the smaller one, or almost a square. And then I'm going to attach these 2 together. I'll probably just add a little strip of water there and then just push these together. Like I said, this clay is soft enough that I can just blend these together and they're going to be fine. Here, let me tilt this down a little bit more so you guys can see. The reason why I'm doing this wide angle, so I can sit behind the camera, work on this, and I can see what I'm doing and y'all can see what I'm doing all at the same time. All right, let's see, I do need a floor to kind of hold it all together, or it'd be helpful. Let's see. Probably can just use a little bit of this. And see, I'm going to want it to taper coming up this way anyway, because the way it's kind of pushing into the way it's going to be pushed into the wall of the pot. So I can kind of get that in there and just cut it off. Just add a little dab. I've got a bucket of water over here on my right. So I'm just going to push that in there. And there we go. Now give myself a little bit of a wall right there. Hey, Kara, welcome. Some say you could do a treehouse of clay. Yeah. Let's see. Well, that's kind of, I didn't plan that, but that's actually got the vertical part. I normally add that on later, but that's got that part for kind of like where the roof is gonna, or the gable end of the house. So we'll just kind of leave that on there. If you do these much larger, I've done in high school. I did a really large one, and I actually built the cabin out of actual coils, so that it was more of like an actual log cabin, and so that is an option. I'm just going to take a triangle piece here to make the gable end on this side, so you can see kind of what I'm doing there with that. And now, let's see, we will do a little bit of a back wall right there. Even though you're not going to see most of that, I'm going to do a little bit of a back wall to give it some support, especially for when I put the roof on. Do a large one on live stream, yeah. All right. So I'm not really going to worry about the way this looks back here because you're not going to see any of this. I just want it to kind of give it some structure. So the back looks kind of funny, but you can kind of see how the front, that's probably not tall enough there. We're actually going to cut this off and make a new one. To kind of match the other side. But then cut it off right about there. Yeah, that'll work. This is all kind of done, as you can tell. It's a little haphazard. But I'm going to texture all of this afterward. I'm going to add some, design to the cabin. Also, I'm working in a really small space, so it's not like I have to make it look super detailed. If you want to do one of these and make it just look super amazingly detailed, you could do that. All right, I'm going to take my dowel that I had here and roll this just a little bit more. All right, now I want to make my roof. Let's see, and probably the width of this ruler is going to be good again for that. And I can use the cabin here as kind of a measure. I want to go out past, so I've got some overhang on each side. So there's kind of my first bit of roof you can see there. I think it kind of looks cool to have like a kind of a rustic looking cabin and maybe even have the roof sagging a little bit. Not that you'd want to live in something like that, but if you're thinking about an old cabin in the woods, it's pretty neat to have something like that looks rustic and old. So you want a little bit of an overhang on each side and the front. So it kind of hangs over in the front. Something like that. Like I said, now you can kind of see what I'm working with there, what it's going to kind of look like. It's kind of at the top of the frame, but give you an idea. Probably can even take off a little bit more of this behind. More of that corner where it's going to attach to the jug. All right, and then I do need a little bit of roof on the back side. So I think something like that'll work, because you won't see much of this roof either, but kind of need it there to make sure it's not like just a hole in the roof. Hey Reggie, welcome. Let's see. So in your is your camera behind you? No, my camera is actually in between me and the and the clay. So I'm having to kind of like sit behind it and work around it. All right. So now, obviously, I don't need all this roof. I'm going to kind of cut the part that's here going back toward the back corner, so it kind of matches the bottom. Kind of see that there? You can probably even cut off a little bit more of this very back corner. There we go. All right. Now that I've built the cabin, before I'm going to attach it to the jug before I do any of the decoration on it, because I got to kind of push it in there. And if I have like the log decoration and the roof decoration, all that on there, before I put it in there, it'll kind of smush it. So get that slid out of the way, get the jug back in here. I know one thing, this is not great for my posture, the way I'm sitting and doing this, but all right, so like I said, well, I'm going to have this jug this cabin kind of sitting in right in there, so I can kind of already see that this back corner here is kind of like in the way, so I might carve away a little bit of this back corner of the jug, just so it'll sit in there a little bit better. So if I take that off, then you can see how it kind of tucks back in there a little bit better. And then I'm going to build a little pillar here and here, like so that it's supporting it on the front side anyway. Let's see, we might just push in a little bit more. All right. Hey Reggie, when is my next wood fire? I'm going to be firing the middle of March. So it's coming up soon. Pretty soon. All right. I kind of want to get this other bat out of the way. I'm going to fill in some of this area with bushes and rocks anyway, but I want to kind of get some attach points there. This is the hardest part about doing this and explaining what I'm doing. I'm just kind of taking some of the wall of the pot and just using this tool to kind of push it in and attach it. All right, now I'm going to build a couple pillars to go under the two front corners there. what I normally like to do is just take a little bit of clay and make kind of like a coil, but then square it up so it looks like a little brick pillar. Or a little stone pillar. Kind of get an idea of what size, and it needs to taper. So then I can take that pillar and I'm just going to cut it like at an angle, kind of like that right there. Just going to wet the top and the bottom of it. Kind of stick it in there and then like smooth it in to the pot. And then I can come back with like my needle tool, and to kind of square it up, I can put it in there and cut away the extra. That kind of helps give it that squared look. And then under that corner, I might actually just put some rocks, which I just ball up the clay. And then, like I said, if you just wet it a little bit, and then I can actually just stick them in there. All right, and then also I want to build some stairs coming off the front. So I normally kind of make another one of those little coils, kind of a squared coil, but a little thick. And this one's going to kind of sit at an angle like this. And then I'm going to basically carve the stairs out of it. I'm going to kind of stick it up in there like that. So it's not like a full front porch. It's just kind of a rickety, dangerous set of stairs on the front of the cabin. Reggie, you're scheduled to participate in one West Michigan, April 26th. Awesome. Is that going to be your first wood firing, Reggie, or have you helped out with one before? Alright, so I'm kind of attaching that down. And then I'm going to kind of come in from the side here. Let's see. Zoom in a little bit there. I'm going to kind of like cut away the stairs. So first, let's see. Pretty hard to do while having a camera in front of me. There we go. Like I said, they're definitely not, they didn't pass code, but that worked. And then I'll end up building up a little bit of a thing right here, so there's a path going off into the woods here behind it. All right, now let's put a little decoration on the cabin, and also I'm going to grab a little piece of clay to make a chimney. This will be your third. Awesome. Does Peg go with you, or is it just you? All right, so now let me zoom this out again a little bit. I'm just making another little kind of like squared piece to make a chimney. I'm going to put the chimney right on here, so there's not going to be an outside chimney on the showing on the outside, but I'm going to put it on this end. And then I'm going to cut a V in the bottom so it goes right over the peak of the roof there. Kind of like, you remember Lincoln Logs? There was always that chimney that sat on the top that had that V cut in it. that's anybody who's very young here is like, Lincoln Logs, what's that? All right, so now got that cut. And then once I get this on there, then I can kind of do like what I did with the post. I can kind of like square it up again with my needle tool. So I've got that. Then I can kind of come back and at least on the front side. I'm not too worried about that back side. And let's see, let's take, I got a paintbrush here. Let's take the top of the paintbrush. I should have done this before I put it on there. Push it down inside that to make a hole in the top of the chimney. Just like that. All right, this is one of my favorite tools for doing face jugs and cabin jugs, but I have this, I don't even know where I got this, but I have this wooden tool here. That's got two rounded edges. This one is a bit more blunt than this one, but they both have kind of like curved, rounded edges. And this one, like I said, is also useful, but thinner. I use this tool a lot when I'm doing like the smile lines and all that stuff on my face jugs. There is something written on there. I've never looked that closely. Something -2 Japan. Anyway, I love this tool. I use the blunt end probably more than the other one. So with the blunt end, I'm going to outline the door right above the stairs there. Like that. And then I'm going to put the horizontal lines from like where the logs are for the cabin, or for where they built the cabin. So I'm just gonna do those on each side of the door here. And then turn it and take those lines around the edge. And also up the gable end as well. And then I don't worry too much about getting them on this side, but kind of make it turn the corner a little bit. And you can use the same tool to kind of come down here and put some stone or brick texture in the little pillar there. And then for the roofs that I've been doing, let me kind of make that one collapse down a little bit. Yeah, look at that. That's cool. I like that. All right. For that, I'm going to come and just draw, not to over texturize it, but I just want to put a few hashes in there with my needle tool to kind of like that. draw a few lines on here like it's a brick chimney. There we go. Attaching that roof just a little bit right there and then smoothing it out. All right, so there's that. Let's. I'm going to go ahead and build this up to make the little trail that's coming kind of off the stairs, and I'm going to have a tree here, probably a tree in the background, and then one in the foreground. And I want this trail to kind of go up in between these two trees that are over here. Now is where I get into Bob Ross mode, making little happy trees and. All right, so I'm just making a little coil here. Add some water to it. I'm just going to basically add this as some a little where it's been kind of like there's a retaining wall or something here holding up this path that comes up to the door. But I kind of have to add the clay on to make it do that. Oh, Linda, thank you. Yeah, that's something. I didn't take much time to make a lot of really detailed work like this for a long time, and I'm slowly getting back into it, really. But it's definitely part of my history in... Oh, I kind of lost connection there for a second. We're back. So here's kind of the picture so far. The overall jug and what's going on. So I got the cabin. I got a lot of space above the cabin, which is nice because then I can have the trees. I can have some branches kind of coming off the tree. And I usually like to have like one branch that's sticking out that doesn't have any leaves on it, just kind of a dead where one had fallen. And so I kind of have that branch sticking out, on one side or the other. I like to come where that path is, do some little where it's kind of been roughed up from walking. So when I first started making these, to make rocks, I did it the same way. I just take a chunk of clay and just make a ball from the chunk of clay and attach that. Obviously, either using water, slip, or spit, whatever works for you. And I still do that. You can just take and add a little ball of clay to make a rock. When I first started to make bushes, I was pushing clay through a wire screen, which I really do like that method. I tried that recently with this clay, and for some reason this clay didn't really do well pushing clay through a wire screen, so I started using one of these scoring tools to make my kind of like leaves and bushes. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But first I'm going to make the tree trunks. So I'll start with this one back here because I need to do the background before I do the foreground trees. All right, again, pretty much everything here starts with like some kind of a coil. And because I don't need this to be like a a perfect looking coil. No trees are, perfectly shaped. Most of them are not straight. So I'll just get a coil and kind of make it kind of rough looking, kind of give me a size reference if that's too big. And then I don't put the texture on these until after I get them in there either. So let's see, we're going to kind of go something like that. Just going to kind of wet the jug right in those couple spots. Wet this, and I just push these on, and then I cover up the connection points with either leaves or rocks or bushes. And you can kind of see where I attach those two. Oops. And then while it's in there, I can kind of give it a little twist if I want to. All right, this one's not going to have any branches coming off of it. So and I don't want to put the other tree in there before I texture this one either. So I'm going to go ahead and I just take my needle tool and just draw some lines to look like, to give it some bark. There goes the needle tool. There we go. Now we got some bark on it. See that? And then we probably ought to go ahead and do the couple rocks and maybe a couple bushes down there for the bottom of this one. If I do bushes, usually I'm putting a kind of a flat piece of clay in there like that. Just give me something to come in with this scoring tool, and then just oops, hit my rock with my needle tool. There we go. All right, now we'll make one of the bigger tree on this side. Let's see, we probably need it about that long, so then I can pinch this off and make a couple branches out of that. So that's going to be that main stem there, or main trunk of that tree. Take this little bit that I pinched off and make a couple branches. So a lot of times I'll like to put a branch on that. That will go up to connect to where I have leaves. And obviously I'm going to texturize this, so I'm not too worried about the connection as long as I know it's connected together. It doesn't have to look perfectly smooth. But that's going to kind of be like that, and this goes off to here, so that's going to be pinched off probably around there. Kind of see how that's going to go right there. All right, and then I'll come up and do another like dead branch, kind of like coming maybe up here, coming off this way. So a smaller one. Let's see how that looks. I don't like that branch way up there like that. We'll take that one off. And I'm thinning this one out too because I thought it looked too above the Y. I thought it looked too thick. I'm actually probably going to put that just down here, this one that I was attaching up top. All right, there we go. Yeah, that looks better. All right. So now once again, just going to wet the area where I want to attach that. Kind of come on the outside of the outside of the jug here, and then come up. And if I ever have too much, like right there, I don't need all that on either one of those. I can just kind of pinch that off, push it down into there, and then I'll cover that connection point with some leaves. Just using a paintbrush to smooth up some of the where I connected them there, those branches. Do I have issues with small pieces drying too fast? You mean the small pieces a part of this cabin jug, or just small pieces that I make in general? These cabin jugs I usually cover up after I make them and let them dry slow, if that's what you're asking. I use plastic for a lot of things to help things in general dry slower. All right, so now I'll texturize this tree same way with my needle tool. Obviously, I can't get around to the back side of it, but nobody's going to see the back side of it so I don't worry about getting all the texture on that back side. Gonna have to support this little one while I put the texture on it, because otherwise it's pretty fragile. I will turn it and get a little bit of the backside here, but not too much of it. And let's give it a little bit of a hula. Michelle, I've only been doing pottery on the wheel 3 times. You tried the twist the other day. I actually managed to get some. How do you get more twist? I've discussed that. I think I did it on my last live stream as well as the video, but a lot of the twist comes from, well, multiple things. How small you make the cylinder before you carve it and before you stretch it. Another big factor is how soft the clay is. If it's stiffer clay, it doesn't twist nearly as much. A lot of it has to do with down pressure. So there's just a lot of factors. I haven't figured them all out, to be honest with you, because I've only made so many of those. But I'm kind of learning all the time while I'm making them. There you go. Now I got that path, like I said, kind of going. On into the woods from the house. All right, we'll do tree on the other side, and then we'll do some leaves. Hey, Jean, from London, Ontario. Thank you for the compliment. Good to see you. I saw you commented that you made it the last live stream or after it was over. I can't remember which now, but let's see. Don't need nearly that much on that one. Okay, Michelle. Yeah, I'll check that out. I haven't been on Instagram hardly at all today, so I'll see that picture when I get back on there. Let's see, I think I'll put a branch off of this one coming up this way. Got a little piece here that I've already. We'll do something like that. Whoop. All right, I'm just gonna. All right, get it attached on the bottom. Get this branch attached, and then probably pinch this one off where it attaches over here. like that. Shelly, I threw a vase this morning that I'm now thinking try this on. Hey, there you go. I've also seen people do this kind of technique without indenting the side of it, just kind of build it up on the shoulder. But I've always preferred this method, kind of like emerging out of the pot. Well, one thing I can say about this software I'm using is it doesn't stay connected as good as the YouTube app, but I can't use this camera angle on the YouTube app. But let me know if y'all think this is helpful, especially because, like I said, if I wasn't using this, that would be how close everything would be. I would have to back everything way up to work on it. So by doing the ultra wide like this, you can see more of what's going on. The cabin needs a window. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been putting any windows in my cabins. I guess these people don't have windows. Maybe we'll here we'll put a window right here. It's not going to be a very big one. I guess we'll put 2 because it'll look weird with just 1, won't it? Door should probably be taller also, but let's see. See if we can make the door just a little bit taller without messing up things. There we go. All right, now let's do the base of this tree right here, and then we'll work on the leaves. It feels claustrophobic. Well, Janet, just be thankful this is not where you're living. That's going to be a bush there. Or the rock. Now, like I said, if you push the clay through a wire screen, it takes a little bit more time than what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add some water up here, and then I just take pinches of clay, and I actually just smush them on. I overlap them a little bit to give thin and thicker spots of where the leaves will be. Kind of like that. And then come back with my scoring tool and there's those on that side. Now we'll get to the ones on this side. Yeah, this method is definitely quicker than the wire screen, but like I said, most of them I made have been with a wire screen, at least years ago. But and yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. Bob Ross would be proud of the happy trees. Yes, Shelley, he would. I didn't do as much commentary as he would. I was focusing on this one. I think it's the first time I've had ads pop up on your live stream. Well, yeah, I did monetize it because how do you calculate the cost of a piece like this? That's a good question. It's just impossible. I mean, you know, I mean, obviously I put a price on them. I just kind of look at the size of the jug and kind of compare that to the size of other things I make, or compare that to other things I make that are similar size. And then outside of that, it's really just based on how much time I have in it, how unique I think the piece is, all kinds of things like that I try to factor in. It's hard. I'd rather make pots all day long than have to put a final price on something when I sell it. I don't mind selling my pieces, but just putting a final price on it is probably one of my least favorite things to do. It's so final, and it's like I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I know what I think it's worth, what's somebody willing to pay for it, because, if I don't sell it, then, I don't get compensation for my time, and I don't have much reason to make more if I don't sell pieces. So selling them is nice in that regard as well, because if you really like making pots, then you got to find something to do with them. Otherwise, you build up quite an inventory of things that are, especially when you're starting out, you may not be proud of the things you make, and you got to figure out something to do with them all. So here, I'll grab the other ones I've got over here so you can kind of see in comparison to that one. Here's the one that was in the thumbnail of the original video I was trying to put out. I don't know why that video didn't work, but thankful this one did. Here's another one. That one, I had the cabin facing the other way, and then I was like, ooh, I got to make a trail going out that way. And then this one's got like a little bitty cabin in it, but all three of those are about the same size. As far as a jug, that's like a 3-pound jug. So that one back there is probably at least 5 pounds of a jug. But they all got the cabin, and like I said, this one over here is the only one that has 3 trees versus 2. Just depends on how much space I have to do them. Oh, Janet, I appreciate that. Appreciate your support. I'm glad you enjoy using the pieces. Shelly, you're welcome. I know I had several people ask, and of course probably most people that asked are at work and can't necessarily just sit here and watch a live stream, but all right, let's see. Is there any more questions or anything? I guess I can put the handle on it. We'll do that. I'm gonna pull a handle and do that. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of. Actually, I can just use this little bit of clay I had here. Y'all have seen probably how I do most of my handles. I've got a couple, at least for coffee mugs, I got a video on how I put handles on coffee mugs. But if I was going to purely pull a handle from start to finish, let me move these dry ones out of the way so I can have the space to work. All right. So if I was just pulling a handle, I would start with just a thick coil of clay, and then using my water, I'm going to start stretching that. I try to keep the top, I got it wet, but I try to keep this top part from getting wet so it's easier to hold on to. I like rotating my hand while I'm pulling the handle so that it doesn't get just one shape. I also like to pinch in between these two fingers if I want it a bit more of a flat handle. Kind of see how that makes a flat, and then turn it and do it the other way as well. You can get a little bit more of a flat shape that way. If I want a thumb groove in it, I can pinch down the middle like that for a thumb groove. I'm going to start by pinching off the bottom to give me a spot there, and then I'm going to go ahead and just pinch between these two fingers and take off the section that I want to put on the jug. Alright. Now for putting it on the jug, I'm going to I'm also not going to do slip for this either because I got a freshly pulled handle. I can add a little bit of water right here to the jug. I'm going to put that top part that I pulled down. I don't want this wet part to touch the rim because that will kind of stick and make a spot on the handle. So I got my finger in between there, and I'm just smoothing out the clay underneath that. Now I'll kind of push this up and come down to where I want to attach that at the bottom. And then I'm just going to push straight in. Sometimes I don't smooth them out like this, sometimes I do at the base of the handle. And then take another little ball of clay to make my button. Stick that on there and use my stamp. Now we're finished. It wasn't finished before because it didn't have a handle on it yet. There we go. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate you being here. And yeah, like I said, I'll be wood firing in a couple weeks. Then I'll be having a show the weekend after that here in North Carolina in April. I'll be having my kiln opening sale along with all the potters in Seagrove have a celebration of spring event. Oh, sorry, I think I lost y'all there for a second. But anyway, I'll be in Hickory, North Carolina, the weekend. Let's see, it's the 4th weekend in March. Then the 19th, 20th, and 21st of April, I'll have my kiln opening sale here at my studio. And I will be, there'll be a celebration of spring event here in Seagrove. So a lot of potters will have new things going on. And so I'll be here then. But that'll be my kiln opening sale. And then shortly after that, I will have an online sale. Now, if you see anything like these cabin jugs or face jugs and you want to speak for one, I definitely don't mind doing that. So if you let me know, I can hold, Susan, no doorknob. No, there's no doorknob. I'm not getting that detailed. But I do hold pieces for people. So if there's something that you see that you would want me to hold, I definitely can give you a price and then tell you, and then when it comes out. Obviously, none of this is finished yet, glazed, all that kind of jazz, but I can do that. So, yeah, thank you, Susan. Yeah, so I would say if you're interested in a piece, send me a message either on... you can do it on YouTube, Instagram. You can go to my website, find my email address, just somewhere that you can get me a direct message, and I'll respond to you, and then I can send you pictures of ones I have available. Some of the face jugs I've made for this firing are already spoken for, and some of these cabin jugs are already spoken for as well. So I'll just have to let you know what's available. So anyway, let's see. Thank you guys so much for your support and on everything. I got to get back to making pots and loading bisque kilns and glazing stuff. So anyway, hope you guys have a great day. And yeah, I'll be live streaming again soon. I just don't know what I'll be making yet, but I will be doing it again soon. So thank you guys. And actually, that's the only other thing. I'm not sure if this is going to end as smoothly. It might end as rough as it began for this live stream. But if so... yeah, when I tested it earlier, I had to go inside to my computer and hit end on the computer. So either way, hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.